Welcome to the Wing Space podcast, a place to take up space, a space for you to settle in, sit back, relax, and focus a little bit on health, wellness, faith, family, and this crazy thing called life.
This podcast is not a replacement for mental health treatment or professional health care. In case of crisis or emergency, please contact your local healthcare provider or dial 911.
Hey there, and welcome to the Wing Space podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the differences between winter blues and seasonal affective disorder, how to tell the difference, and some things you can do to make sure that you can beat those winter blues and get the necessary support you might need if you are dealing with seasonal affective disorder. Stick around. We're going to take a quick pause for a message about our upcoming services.
Can't shake the cold in Southern Maryland? Join us at Hope and Healing in Leonardtown for our first wellness workshop of 2024. Learn new skills for coping with the coldest months of the year and create your very own mood-boosting aromatherapy product to take home. On-site childcare will be provided for $5 a child, and registration is required. So sign up today with the link in our show notes or visit our website at hopehealingtherapy.com.
Welcome back to the Wing Space podcast, a place to take up space. I am going to talk with you today about the difference between winter blues and seasonal affective disorder. You're going to notice that I'm going to glance down a little bit because I do have some notes that are pulled up. I want to make sure that I'm very clear about the difference between the two. And it's also really important to understand that if you either prior to listening to this episode or after listening to this episode believe that you may be struggling with seasonal affective disorder, which is a mental health condition, please reach out to your primary care doctor, or if you're connected with a therapist, or maybe you can then reach out to connect with a therapist, because it truly is a condition that needs a little bit more support than what we're going to talk about today with regards to this idea of beating the winter blues. So when we talk about winter blues, it for some people can start before winter actually gets here. I know for me, and I see it on my social media thread, once the time changes and it's getting dark at 4:30 in the afternoon, it just feels blah, right? It starts to get a little chillier, maybe even cold in some places. Some places are getting snow by the time September, October, early November are rolling around. And so we're spending less time outside and we're getting less sunshine. And then we just kind of feel bleh, right? Then we have this big wind up for the holidays. We've got, all of the holiday cheer and the music and the lights and the gifts and the activities and the food and all those things. And then there's a letdown, right? Early January, the decorations go away. You've cleaned up the house. The new of some of those gifts you may have received are over. And it just gets back to ordinary, except that it's still cold out. And it's probably colder and maybe snowing more. And it's still as dark as it was, right? So we have to make sure that we're aware of this and we can do things that will help to combat it. Now, the winter blues is not a mental health condition. It's kind of that blah that we might feel when we have that, okay, all the holidays are over, what now? We've still got 2 months of cold, what do we do? And I'll talk about some ideas about what we can do for that. But winter blues can also be associated with like a grief response. So if you attend a church, they might have a Blue Christmas service. Sometimes churches have it on the 20th, I think, or 21st of December, because it's the winter solstice, the first day of winter, the longest night of the year. Or they might have it earlier in the season to prepare you for it, but it certainly could be, this idea of grief and loss. It could be winter blues because of the financial burden that this time of year has, financial stress, family stress. A lot of families get together during the holidays that may not get together at other times during the year, and that can be stressful for people. And again, it's not a medical diagnosis, and it typically runs its course and it goes away. But for other people, there is what's called Seasonal Affective Disorder, which, interestingly enough, the acronym for it is S.A.D. So the first thing to consider is, are the feelings that I'm having that look similar to depression, are they lasting every day, most of the day, for more than 2 weeks? Now, I'm not giving you this information for you to do a self-diagnosis, because remember, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, this sounds like more than winter blues for me, I encourage you, I invite you, go seek a medical assessment. But we have to really look at, are these symptoms lasting beyond just kind of like, it's a cold, rainy, wet day, I'm feeling blue? Is it impacting your ability to take care of yourself or other people? Is it impacting your hygiene? Are you sleeping too much? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you having less energy than you used to? We are all tired and drained during this time of the year. So you might say, yeah, I'm staying up late wrapping presents. I'm still getting up early for work. I'm just exhausted by the end of the day. Okay, are those situational? Is it because of the activities of the season, or is it more of a mental health, emotional response? If you do things that you enjoy, go outside and get some sunshine, move your body, exercise, eat some good food, spend time with friends, and you feel better, it's probably winter blues. But if you engage in those things and it doesn't help you to feel any better at all, then again, you might consider, is this a more significant medical condition? Now, for seasonal affective disorder, it typically, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, it typically affects young people and women more frequently than others. But anyone can be susceptible to having seasonal affective disorder, and really just paying attention, especially if you're a person that struggles with other mental health conditions. If you have a history of anxiety or depression or PTSD or postpartum depression or anything like that, it's possible that you're more likely to experience seasonal affective disorder. So, the symptoms that are lasting a really long time and I'm not able to do anything that helps. So when we talk about all of the interventions that you can use, winter blues, it's one of those things that kind of blah, but we can engage in activities that, we have fun and it's not lasting every day, all day. Seasonal affective disorder is more like it's a blah, but it's blah all day, every day, for more days than not, over a course of at least 2 weeks. So some of the things that you can do in order to not only prevent the winter blues, but also to engage in good, healthy coping skills over the winter, are things such as exercise. Now, if you've listened to the podcast before, you know that I really, really harp on the importance of movement, and here's where I'm going to call myself out. So since July, I've had a daily habit of going for a walk, and I really enjoy my walk. And I have even told people that, I don't feel as good if I go for a walk. I don't go for a walk, right? So going for a walk. Well, then here in Maryland, if you're familiar with the Maryland weather, you realize that it goes from like 90 degrees to 20 degrees overnight. Just all of a sudden it's cold and it's gross. I have not been walking. I don't think I've walked since before Thanksgiving. I'm recording this on the 20th of December. I haven't walked in like a month because it's cold and it's yucky. So what I did was I asked for earmuffs for Christmas, and I received them. Thank you to my Aunt Linda. But I can just put some earmuffs on to go out for a walk when it's cold, rather than hat and mess up my hair because I'm still at work. It's easier for me to walk during the day, because by the time I leave most days it's dark. If you are not able to go outside, if you live in a place where it's super, super cold and not good, or if it's just a day where it's not a good day to walk, you can walk on the treadmill. You can walk around the house. I've definitely done that before when my husband and I were watching a movie and I was like, I haven't got my walk in today. I need to get some steps. I just walked circles around the living room. He laughed at me and it was funny while I was doing it, but I got my 30 minutes in. You can maybe hit up a pool. If you have like an indoor pool around you, you could do some swimming, go to the gym. There are some studies that show the effects of exercise can have the same impact on your body as medications do, antidepressants, for very mild depression. It is not a substitute for medication, and if you are currently taking medication, continue to take that medication. Follow your doctor's orders. But the physiological effects of exercise can certainly impact our bodies in the same way that antidepressants sometimes do. When you hear me talk about exercise, you most often hear me talk about exercising outside, going for a walk outside, because it gets us our vitamin D. When we experience low levels of vitamin D, it can sometimes mimic signs and symptoms of depression. You might consider getting your vitamin D levels checked by your doctor, and they may tell you that it's low, and they may tell you to take certain supplements in order to increase it. I can tell you, getting sunshine is vital. If it's too cold to go outside, move your chair in front of the window. Let that nice warm sunshine hit on you while you're reading or watching television. Make sure you're getting vitamin D. Sitting on the porch if you can, a back deck, a sunroom, wherever you can get some good direct sunlight. Again, you might need to take a supplement, and you should definitely consider talking to your doctor about that. The other thing that's really cool is that they have come up with these things called light lamps. Now, of course, you're saying all lamps have light. Yes. However, they create these lamps that I think most of them are red light, but they might not all be red light, that you can put in front of you, and it gives you that light. I don't really understand the science behind it, but I do have some clients that use it during the winter, and they say that it really does help. So if they're going to read for 30 minutes, they might turn the light on, that it's kind of shining on them while they're reading or whatever it might be. The best way to get light therapy is from the sun, 100%. Doing work in front of a window, exercising outside, whatever it might be. But if you don't have that opportunity, you might consider one of those lamps for light therapy. Obviously, eating a healthy diet. If we're eating, a diet that is really heavy on complex carbs and sugar, processed food, our body is working really hard to try to process that. And so our gut is going to feel sluggish, and the rest of our body is going to feel sluggish. So really focusing on complex carbs, whole grains, making sure you're getting your fruits and your vegetables, a healthy plate, right? You need your protein, you need your carbs, you need your veggies, you need your healthy fat. Making sure that you are fueling your body, because if our body doesn't feel good, then our mind is not going to feel good, and we really are going to feel worse and feel that winter blues, which may or may not be seasonal affective disorder. You also want to stimulate your senses. I was actually listening to Gretchen Rubin's podcast this morning. She and her sister do a podcast called Happier. I think it's called Happier. Anyway, they do their, 20 for 20 or 21 for 21, 24 for 24 they were talking about this year. But Gretchen wrote a book called The Five Senses, and I have not read it before, but there's a complimentary journal that she has that goes with it, and she was talking about not only like living life through the five senses, but then also reflecting on it. So consider how you might really engage your senses. Maybe it means freshening up the paint in your house. Maybe the one room that you work in, you're going to put some fresh color on the walls. You're going to put some air fresheners, candles, essential oil diffuser, something that intrigues your sight and your smell senses. Maybe it's something as simple as like painting your nails so that you can see the colors when you're throughout the course of your day. We look at things throughout the entire day, but we often don't pay attention to it. So maybe you could engage your senses when you're walking outside, getting your vitamin D. You could do a mindful walk, which means you're really looking at and paying attention to the things that are around you. You're listening for the sounds of the area, and maybe even smelling what's going on. In the winter, there's not many smells. Usually the only thing I smell in the winter is somebody's, fire burning. But maybe you live in an area where there's something else that might smell good, or maybe it doesn't smell good, but you're at least noticing it. You can absolutely nurture yourself. Just take care of yourself. Maybe that means a cozy blanket and a warm fire and a book. Maybe it means a PJ day and some binge watching of movies. I can tell you I have not had the opportunity to do that. It's actually on my December bucket list to do a PJ movie day. It's the 20th of December, and I don't think that it's going to happen before the end of the year, but I'm absolutely going to do it in January. In one of our upcoming episodes, I'm actually going to talk about seasonal bucket lists and encourage you to consider, whether it's monthly or seasonal, how you can be proactive and intentional about engaging in some fun, nourishing activities. So, nurturing yourself, a good book, a good movie, the fire, friends, family, cozy blankets, whatever it is. And absolutely, you can take a vacation to get to sunnier climate. I know lots of people that use the week between Christmas and New Year's as their family vacation time. The kids are already out of school. Most places of employment are a little slower during that time of year. It's easy to take off, and if you live in a cold weather climate, then hey, head south, head where it's warm, and plan a break in the winter, right? If you have the finances, you have the time, you have the resources for that. But if you don't, certainly getting outside and nourishing yourself in other ways. And then absolutely, if you try to engage in these activities and coping skills and it does not help, absolutely 100% see a therapist and learn some additional coping skills that you might use. Maybe it's about accountability. Maybe you're trying these things, but your mindset is not one of it's going to work, and you're not necessarily doing it regularly. So a therapist can help you to hold you accountable for your daily activities and your routines. They can also help you to understand that if you say, I'm going to go for a walk, but it's not going to help, then it's not going to help. And a therapist can help you to reset and reframe that mindset. Maybe it's talking to a friend. Maybe it's having an accountability buddy, but friends and family are certainly not a substitute for mental health care. So just some ideas about winter blues and seasonal affective disorder. We certainly have some resources on our social media and our webpage with regards to some ideas, maybe similar, maybe different, maybe just reinforcing what I've said today. It's really normal for people to feel blah in the winter. What it's not totally normal is for it to lead to a more significant mental health condition. So take care of yourself, nurture your soul, fuel your body, and just know that spring will come in the next couple of months. So thanks for listening. I would love to hear how you nourish your soul in the winter months. So feel free to send us a DM, or you can always email me, Jennifer@hopehealingtherapy.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.